So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands up and give a warm welcome to Marco
Hello,
Inocencio.
good evening, everybody. Okay. Hi, this is actually my first time in Malaysia, and it's very nice. I think I'll come back someday. It's very similar to the Philippines, except your food is a little bit more spicy than ours. Okay, I'm going to talk about how diverse the diving in the Philippines is. Now, in a lot of places, if you go someplace, they're usually just known for one thing. But in the Philippines, because our dive sites are very many and very different from each other, you can do a lot of different things when it comes to diving there. So if you're into macro photography, we have something for you. If you're into big animals, we have something for you also, all right? So, there we go. So that's the Philippines. It's about 4 hours that way by plane. Uh, the Philippines can be found in the middle of the Coral Triangle, just like Malaysia. So the Coral Triangle is the area where there's the most number of species of fish and corals. That's where the most number of species can be found. That's why it's very great for diving. Yeah? And it covers a huge area. It stretches from the South Pacific all the way up north to southern Japan and all the way down to Indian Ocean. And Malaysia and the Philippines is right smack in the middle of it. There you go. So over 500 species of reef-building corals and over 3,000 species of fish. I haven't seen all of them yet. That's why I keep on diving. Uh-oh. Come on. There we go. So the Philippines is an archipelago. So it's a group of islands. There are 7,641 islands if the tide is high. Now if the tide is low, there's I think 7 more islands can be found. And if you put all the islands together, the approximate size is about the same as the Malaysian Peninsula. So we're not a very big country at all. And it's a global hotspot for marine diversity, so it has quite a few fishes and corals it can be found. So it's located in the northwest side of the Coral Triangle. There we go. So first up, for the types of diving that we do is macro photography and critter hunting. So among the diving hotspots in the Philippines for those is Dawin, Anilao, Puerto Galera, and Romblon. So those areas is very good for macro photography. Now you guys have to pay attention because at the end of the talk, I'll be asking some questions, and those who can answer it, or the person who can answer it, gets a free cup. All right. So some of the things that we can find in those areas. That's a boxer crab, very small. It's only about an inch long. You can usually find it in rubble areas, and this particular one has eggs. So if you see the red mass underneath the body, those are eggs. The pom-poms of the boxer crab are actually tentacles of an anemone. Next up, we have mantis shrimps. Now, mantis shrimps, even though they look funny, they're actually quite dangerous. So try not to mess with them because their claws, they use it to break shells and clams. So their claws are very strong. Yeah. The one on the left is the peacock mantis shrimp. It can grow to about almost a foot long, and they're very fast. The one on the right is one of my favorites. It's a pink-eared mantis shrimp. This one has eggs also, so it carries its eggs around, so nothing will eat them. But they're very playful. So sometimes if we have guests taking photos of them, they'll come out of the hole, smack the camera with their claws, and then go back because they see the reflection on the camera lens, and they're very territorial. So they like to fight other mantis shrimps. But fortunately, the pink-eared mantis shrimps are small, so they're not strong enough to break the lens of your camera. Okay, this one is one of the rarer critters that you can find in the Philippines. This is the harlequin shrimp. So it's only about 2 to 3 inches long. They're very cryptic, so most of the time you'll find them hiding under something. But once you find them in one area, they tend to stay in that area for a while. Harlequin shrimps like to eat sea starfishes. So if you see the thing it's holding in its claws, that's the arm of a starfish. So they use their claws to cut the starfish arm and then hang on to it and then eat it. So they like their food to go. And then we also have lots of nudibranchs there. We have so many nudibranchs that sometimes shrimp will use them for transportation, like a bus. That's an emperor shrimp riding on a nudibranch. Now the emperor shrimp will also get food from the nudibranch. The nudibranch poop comes from the middle of where the gills are. That's why the emperor shrimp is always waiting there. So every time the nudibranch poops, the emperor shrimp will catch it and eat it. So it gets transportation and meals all at one time. So yeah, they're pretty smart, yeah. And then these are different kinds of nudibranchs. On the upper left is the Pikachu nudibranch. It's only about an inch long. Quite common in some areas of the Philippines, like in Dawin and Anilao. The one on the upper right corner is a solar-powered nudibranch. So it eats soft corals, but it keeps the algae found in soft corals alive and puts it in its body. So when the sun hits the algae in its body, it produces sugars, and it gives food to the nudibranch. So they have a built-in refrigerator, yeah. Lower left are the Hypsilodoris nudibranchs. They're very striking and colorful. And lower right is a tambia. That kind of nudibranch eats other nudibranchs, so it gets pretty big, yeah. And the best place to look for these kinds of nudibranchs will be Puerto Galera, Anilao, Dumaguete. Bohol has quite a few of them also, yeah. And then that's one of the special things you find in the Philippines. That's a flamboyant cuttlefish. So on the big picture, that's a baby flamboyant cuttlefish that just came out of its egg. So as you can see, it's quite small compared to the mask of the diver behind. A full-grown flamboyant cuttlefish looks like this. And it doesn't swim very much. Most of the time, it just crawls around on the bottom, yeah? And they call it flamboyant cuttlefish because it's very colorful. And you can actually see the colors run up and down its body, yeah? And they don't get very big. The biggest one I've seen is only about this long, yeah? And they always go back to the same place to lay their eggs. In fact, at the resort I work in Atlantis, our house reef is an egg-laying area for flamboyant cuttlefishes, so we can easily find them there most of the time. And we also get octopi in the Philippines. So on the left-hand side of the photo is wonderpuss. Most of the time, it's just the head sticking out. So you have to be with an experienced dive guide to spot them. If you get too close to them, it goes back in the hole. But once it gets used to your presence, it will come out and crawl around. So that's a wonderpuss. On the opposite side is mimic octopus. So a lot of people confuse the two, but the markings, as you can see, can be quite different. Yeah. And then in the middle is the blue ring octopus. The blue ring octopus is very venomous. Fortunately, it's not aggressive. So as long as you don't touch it, it won't bite you back. Yeah. And they're not big. So the blue ring octopus is only about this big, about 2 to 3 inches long. And it crawls around. Now, with these animals, it's very important that you don't swim around a lot. So in most cases, when you're looking for critters, the slower you go, the more things you see. Yeah? If you swim around like crazy, they get scared or you just miss them because some of them can be very camouflaged. But if you go really slow and take your time and look for things and pay attention to your dive guide because they'll point them out, you'll see more. Seahorses. So yeah, on the left is the pygmy seahorse. And on the right is the thorny seahorses. So the pygmy seahorse only about an inch long, and you can always find them on sea fans. Now, as I said earlier, in the Philippines, even in the sites where it's known for big animals like Tubataha. Tubataha is an offshore reef, so you can only do it by liveaboard, and it's known for the shark sightings there. But Tubataha is actually also the first place where I found my own first Denise pygmy seahorse. I ignored all the sharks and just put my face near the wall and looked at each sea fan until I found a seahorse. So even in areas where you can concentrate on the big animals, but if you take your time, you can still find macro critters also, yeah? And then ghost pipe fishes. Very, at times of the year, you can find them in all the dive sites in the Philippines. In fact, you can find up to 3 or 4 species of ghost pipe fish in one dive site. The best time to look for them would be April and May. All the dive sites in Darwin have 1 or 2 of them. So on the upper left-hand side is a yellow ornate ghost pipefish. They like to hide in crinoids. So when they're in the middle of crinoids, they're actually quite difficult to spot. And then on the right hand is the female. It's a female ornate ghost pipefish because as you can see underneath the body, there's an egg pouch. So you know when a ghost pipefish is pregnant when it starts to expand its egg pouch. And then on the lower left-hand side are these are rough snout ghost pipe fishes. And they look like seagrass blades, so they like to hide in the seagrass beds. A lot of divers will ignore seagrass beds, but in Darwin and in Puerto Galera and in Anilao, if you take your time and look for things in the seagrass beds, it's so full of life. You can find frog fishes there, octopi, sea moths, different kinds of shrimps and crabs. So always take the time to look for something when you're diving in the Philippines because you'll never know what you're gonna find, yeah? Frog fishes. We're also known for a lot of different kinds of frogfish. So upper left-hand photo is a warty frogfish. On the right-hand side is the giant frogfish. It's about the size of a football. And on the lower left-hand side is the hairy frogfish. So the warty frogfish you can usually find in the reef, although when they're babies, when they're about half an inch long or 1 cm long, you can find them in sandy areas. And they stand out because they don't blend in the sand. They're very brightly colored. Usually they're white and red or yellow and red. The giant frogfishes, they're usually in the reef. If you see one swimming, they look really funny. They actually use jet propulsion to swim. So they'll take a big gulp of water and then expel the water through their gill holes behind their fins. It looks like they have hands and they hang on to things, but those are actually modified fins, yeah? And then the hairy frogfish you can usually find in seagrass beds and sandy areas. And they're called hairy frogfish because of all their hair, yeah? And they're very difficult to spot, especially if they're not moving. It looks like, they look like a piece of rock with algae growing on them. That's the map of the Philippines again. So this time, that was the macro photography and critters. This time around, we're going to look at some of the larger animals that you see in the Philippines. So the best known spots for spotting large animals in the Philippines are Tubataha Reef, which is it's an offshore reef, so you can only dive it by liveaboard, and only from February until June, because that's when the weather allows you to go. Apo Reef is another offshore reef, and some people call it a mini Tubataha because you can find a lot of big things there also. Malapascua is mostly known for their thresher sharks. So it's pretty much guaranteed to see thresher sharks in Malapascua, yeah? And there sometimes you can see whale sharks, mantas, and tiger sharks there too, yeah? And then Ticao. Ticao is known for frogfish, manta. We have 2 ladies from Ticao in the back. Hello. So they're very well known for manta ray sightings and whale shark sightings also. And then Puerto Galera is known for, they've been seeing thresher sharks regularly in some of the sites in Puerto Galera now. and they have found mola mola and whale sharks there too. Coron is well known for being the area where you can find dugongs. So dugongs can be found in Coron. Yeah. All right. Oops. I just said dugo and it came out. But yeah, those are barracudas. Best place to look for barracudas would be Apo Reef, Tubataha, and Balikasag Island off of Bohol. In fact, the school in Balikasag Island has one individual albino barracuda. I've seen it there before, and it's really cool looking. All the other barracudas look like that, but there's one that's white and gold. That's very, very nice. And then you also get a lot of areas where you can see big schools of jacks. So these are horse-eye jacks or big-eye jacks. And as long as you're not swimming around like crazy, they can let you come very close to them. So the best place to look for these would be canyons in Puerto Galera, Balikasag Island in Bohol, Tubataha has quite a few of them also, and Apo Reef. And Apo Island in Darwin. And then there's the dugong. So the dugong is it's an air-breathing mammal. So they're like us. They breathe air, yeah, and they produce milk for their babies also. But they're completely aquatic. So from time to time they go up to the surface to breathe, but most of the time you can find them eating seagrass because that's their favorite food. I've seen one once in Coron area. So the way you find them is there's a local guide that will spot them breathing on the surface. And then once you see it there, the boat will slowly go to that area and then you get in the water. If you find the dugong eating seagrass, when you get down, you won't see anything because all the sand is flying up. It's like a big ball of silt. But if there's a bit of current and it carries the silt away, then you can see the dugong like that. They're big. They're almost, I'd say about 4 meters long. And they're very graceful. They're not the prettiest thing underwater, but they're actually very graceful. And they always have bodyguards. They always have small jacks swimming with them. Because the jacks like to eat the small critters that get scared away when the dugong's eating in the sand. Yeah. So the yellow fishes, those are juvenile golden trevallies. And mantas. So like I said earlier, best place to look for mantas is Ticao. You can find them in Tubataha as well and in Apo Reef. For manta rays, they look like big blankets sometimes, and they're very graceful, yeah. And they're actually they eat small things. They eat plankton and small fish. And yeah, sometimes apparently they like the feel of bubbles under their belly, so sometimes they'll swim above divers and let the bubbles tickle their belly. As with most things, as long as you stay calm and not swim around like crazy, they'll actually get close to you, yeah. And then that's a white-tip reef shark. Can be found in, best place to look for them would be Tubataha. You can pretty much see them in every dive, and in Apo Reef. They're not aggressive. During the night though, when it's dark, they go out and hunt in packs sometimes. So they hunt in groups. And thresher sharks, like I said, they can be found in Malapascua and in Puerto Galera. In Malapascua, so the two spots that we find them in are their cleaning stations. So the thresher sharks go there to get cleaned by small fish. So it's usually the butterfly fishes and the wrasses that do the cleaning on them. So they'll swim slowly and all the fish will eat the parasites that are stuck to their body. Yeah. They're very graceful. For me, I think they're the most beautiful shark out there. The tail is very great. You know, when in gymnastics, there's like a event with a ribbon on floor exercise, the tail looks like that because it's very graceful. Now, thresher sharks will eat small fish. So they'll usually go to a big school of fish and then hit the fish with their tail. So all the fishes that get hit by their tail get stunned, and then the thresher shark will swim back. It circles back and then eats the fish that gets stunned. And sometimes thresher sharks will jump out of the water. That's a very common occurrence in Malapascua. So you'll sometimes see pictures of a thresher shark flying in the air. They do that to dislodge parasites that get stuck on their body. Yeah. And then whale sharks. So best place for whale sharks would be Oslob. Ticao has them also. There's one place in southern Leyte called Sogod Bay. You can find them there. Whale sharks are like manta rays. They only eat small fishes and plankton. Now, when you see a whale shark swim, you see it. It moves very slowly. But if you try swimming after it, you can't even catch it. So yeah. And then their mouths are very sensitive. In the area Oslo, where fishermen feed the whale shark to get them to come close, I've seen them take big gulps of water on the surface. Yeah, there was one time it took in a candy wrapper about this big. I said, okay, the whale shark's gonna have plastic in his poop, but no. After taking that mouthful of water, it actually spat the candy wrapper out because it felt it inside its mouth. So despite their size, they're very sensitive, especially in the mouth. And the way they feed is they're filter feeders. So when they feed, all the food gets stuck to their gills. Once they have enough food stuck to their gills, they'll stop swallowing water. They'll cough, so that all the food stuck in their gills get dislodged, and then they'll swallow it down. So that's how they eat, by filtering stuff from the water. And they're not shy. If you're between their food and the whale shark, they'll swim right over you. And the people over there will tell you not to be in front of the whale shark because they'll just run you down. And the tail, even if it moves slowly, it's quite painful. If you get hit by it, it's like getting whacked by, you know those big, heavy rubber fins from Scuba Pro, the jet fins? It feels like getting whacked by a jet fin in the face. So that's what the tail of the whale shark feels like. And in a lot of the areas, like Oslo, we don't get the full-grown whale sharks. We only get the not really juveniles, but teenagers. Like we've seen 7-footers there, but most of the ones we see are in the 3-meter range. The theory is once they get to a certain size, they move out into the open ocean. So that area is probably like a kindergarten for whale sharks. Yeah. And other types of diving you can do in the Philippines, wreck diving. So Coron and Subic Bay are very well known for wreck diving, both technical and recreational. And blackwater diving, which is starting to become popular in the Philippines. A lot of practitioners are operating now in Anilao and in Dawin. So that's one of the wrecks in Coron. So the wrecks, there are about over 15 wrecks in Coron, and they're all World War II wrecks. Yeah, and they range in depth from, there's some that are exposed during low tide and some that are in about 40 meters of water. So there's a wreck there for all levels of diving. Yeah. And it's not just the wreck. A lot of the wrecks there have a lot of corals and sea fans and black corals growing on them, so they're full of life. But if you're really into penetrating wrecks, you can do that also, as long as you're with a very experienced guide, and if you have the right training, of course. And then there's Barracuda Lake in Coron also. So Barracuda Lake is an inland lagoon. It's not really a freshwater lake. The water there is brackish, so it's part freshwater, part salt water. And the strange thing about this lake is On the shallow area, so until about maybe 8 meters, the water temperature is normal. But once you get deeper, it gets warmer and warmer. So by the time you get about 20 meters, it's almost uncomfortably warm. So when we dive there, we actually carry our BCDs up the trail and then go down to the lake. And then the topography of the side of the lake is it's weird. There's no fish, especially in the deeper parts, and there's a lot of like pinnacles. It's like a haunted area. It's spooky, but it's pretty cool. And one thing you have to watch out for if you go deep in the lake is try not to get water inside your mask because the water is very salty. It's warm and salty, and if it gets in your mask, your eyes are gonna hurt like crazy. And I learned that the hard way, unfortunately. On the way back up in the shallow areas, there's a lot of shrimp, freshwater shrimp, and other kinds of fishes there too. And then for blackwater diving, so for those who are not familiar with blackwater diving, the way they do it is they have a buoy and a line that goes down to maybe 15 to 20 meters, yeah? And they put bright lights on top of the buoy, or on the bottom of the buoy, so it shines downwards. They leave it out there for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and by that time, there are many baby fish and baby shrimp and baby crabs and jellyfish. They get attracted to the light. And once those critters are there, then the divers go in and start taking pictures of them, or just looking at them like me. I don't take pictures. But there are very many interesting things you can find in those blackwater dives. Like this is a baby octopus, and it's only about 2 cm wide. Yeah, and if you notice the spots on the octopus, those are called chromatophores. Those are its cells that make the color. So depending on what the octopus wants its colors to be, those are the cells that it expands. So if it wants to be brown, the brown cells will become big, and all the other cells with a different color will go small. So that's how they control what color they become. And that's a baby mantis shrimp. So it's only about 2 cm long, and it's still transparent. So a lot of marine creatures, before they become adults and settle down on the bottom, they actually float around in the water column until they find a spot that's good for them to settle in. And then, so yeah, that's the different kinds of diving in the Philippines. Like I said, small country, but a lot of different kinds of diving. Yeah. One way we preserve our marine environment is by putting up marine protected areas. And the concept of putting up marine protected areas, especially the community-based ones, actually started in the Philippines. So Apo Island is one of the oldest marine protected areas in the world. And it's not just underwater. The Philippines is beautiful like Malaysia. We also have a lot of beautiful spots above water. Yeah. I work for Atlantis Dive Resorts, and at Atlantis, like in most other resorts in the Philippines, we put a premium on marine conservation and improving the local community. Now, Atlantis is a dedicated dive resort, so I'm just going to show a few slides of what the resort's like. So we have a dedicated area for dive equipment. That's where our guests leave their equipment when they're not diving. We also have a dedicated camera room, so it's climate controlled, has an aircon, a lot of space for up to 30 divers at the same time. A lot of storage area on the lower shelves, and it has a air gun. So we have a compressor air in there for air guns, so you can blow your cameras dry. Also, the charging stations there it has surge protection. So sometimes the power fluctuates, but because of the surge protector, your chargers are protected. They don't get damaged. That's our liveaboard. So the level of service that we have in the resorts is the same as on our liveaboards also. So it goes to different parts of the Philippines for diving at different times of the year. And then, yeah, like I said earlier, we also try to improve the local community. So all our staff so all our dive masters and instructors, we build them up from our existing staff. Like me, I started in 2005 as a dive shop boy. So filling tanks, carrying gear, and then I worked my way up to dive master first, and then instructor. Like right now, one of our dive masters used to be the bartender. Another one used to be a driver at the resort. And then some of them were waitresses or waiters. So we try to build from our employee pool and develop them into dive masters. And yeah, these guys, that's the dive team in our Dumaguete resort. All of them have been there for at least 12 years now. Like the guy in the middle, looks like my father, but he's not. His sister was actually my babysitter. She babysat me when I was a kid. So that's Jeannie. He's a local legend in diving in Dumaguete. And we have a very high retention rate. Like I said, I've been in there with Atlantis for 20 years next year. And these guys have been there for at least 12 years now. So that's because if you have happy staff, it's very easy to make your guests happy also. Yeah. And we also work with local schools in the Darwin area and in the Puerto Galera area. We conduct feeding programs, and we help them build classrooms and other facilities that they need. And we do it in partnership with some of the guests that come to us. And then we've also started teaching local high school students to dive, so that when they grow up, they have the option to become dive masters if they want to. So we teach them to dive for free, and whenever they have vacant time, they come to the resort and dive with us and the guests. So instead of just sitting at home doing nothing, playing on their cell phone, they can come diving with us and learn a lot of things. So we're on our second batch of high school students now. That was our Nihang, it stopped. It's different on the monitor and different on the screen. It's okay. But yeah, we're on our second batch of high school students now. So hopefully we'll keep on adding to that batch. But sorry for the technical glitch, but that's pretty much the end of my presentation. All right. For the important part, thank you. For the important part, so I have 2 Atlantis caps here. I'm gonna ask 2 questions, and whoever gives me the correct answer first gets the cap. So my first question is, can anybody give me one diving area in the Philippines that is known for macro photography? Yes, ma'am. And the black shirt. Darwin, that is correct. Come over here and get your cap. Congratulations. What's your name? Erica. Have you been to the Philippines already?
I love Darwin.
You love Darwin? You should move there then. Thank you very much, Erica. And second question. Give me one diving area in the Philippines that's known for pelagics or big stuff. Yes, ma'am. In the black shirt, you raise your hand first. 2 Bataa is correct. Come over here and get your cup. Thank you very much. Let's take a picture. What's your name?
Cynthia.
Cynthia of No Troubles, Just Bubbles. Yeah, they thank you very much, Cynthia. Oh. All All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening in. And enjoy the rest of the show, yeah? I think we have... Yes, sir. Go
All
ahead.
right, thank you, Marco. Salamat po. Marco, don't leave yet. Y2. There should be 3. It's all about feng shui. Marco, thank you very much. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause please for Marco. If you need to get more information, you can always see him in his respective booth.